Please, enough. No, more.
Today's topic on Please Enough, No More is insider threats, which we just talked about in What's Worse. So I'm going to start with you, Mike. What have you heard enough about with insider threats, and what would you like to hear a lot more?
Security is quite often talked about in terms of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I really feel like insider threats gets that the worst, where I hear too much of the FUD of insider threat. What I'd like to really hear more about is break that down a little bit. How are you dealing with the various types of insider threats? It's not just someone who's actively working against you. I include user error as an insider threat. The other thing I'd like to hear more about is how do you preserve the privacy of your employees while you're pursuing this program? There's not enough consciousness of preserving that employee privacy, I think. So I'd like to hear more about that.
All right, Deanna, I take the same question to you, and I would like to know from you, what have you heard enough about on insider threats? What would you like to hear a lot more? And what are you doing about that?
Excellent. I'd actually would say that I hear enough about privacy. A lot of the things that insider threat programs are not out to get people. In fact, they're out to help people. They can help people not go down the route of making bad decisions. And I think instead of it being perceived as a gotcha and we're looking to invade your privacy, we don't have time to read all your email, right? We're too busy for that. There's a lot of assumptions about what's being done. I think one of the things I'm also tired of hearing about, I think, is that the non-malicious insiders are just negligent. So we've moved from saying that they're unwitting, and there's this movement to say all people that make mistakes are negligent. And I think that over dramatizes humans to be bad. I think there are negligent insiders, people who just, are unwitting and they just don't pay attention and they don't care about paying attention. I think there are careless people that just make mistakes. Humans make mistakes. And I think there are people that are just plain outsmarted. Our adversaries are very, very smart, and they are leveraging the behavioral sciences. They're leveraging psychology to influence and persuade people. And we don't do that in turn. So what I'd like to see is a focus on people being the missing link and not the weakest link. People, human error, computers have errors every single day. And I don't hear, my computer is the weakest link. Well, they have just as many errors as the human brain. But people really are the missing link. If we attend to the habits and the patterns in human behavior, we can also, do a good job of helping people make better choices, because they start making bad choices and then go down that route. So if we can get to it soon enough, we go with this motto. There's this great insider threat program, and their motto is save the person, save the company. And I think that is a motto that's human-centric, but it's also security-centric, right? By preventing that person or protecting that person, we save the company and we protect ourselves. So that's what I'd like to see a lot more focus on, the whole person.
So let me ask you, I don't even know, what is MITRE's relationship with our sponsor, DTEX?
So DTEX is an insider threat tool, and we have been involved in trying to build data-driven indicators for insider threat. So we use DTEX and other tools on the market for insider threat to try to build experiments. So you can use known data from known past insiders to, identify indicators, or you can build experiments where you put people in malicious and non-malicious conditions and see if you can statistically identify the difference in their behavior, right? So does search behavior look different if your intention is to steal that data than if you search for the same exact information, but your intention is to, do your job, right? Write a fancy report. And we have a methodology to do human experiments where we run these tools like DTEX that are, doing the host-based monitoring, the network monitoring, but they're not very savvy indicators if we only look at the obvious things like rule breaking, right? Where you've broken a policy. We want to move those tools and those indicators to things that people might not do intentionally. They don't intentionally search differently. Their intent drives their behavior. And we as psychologists can help design those experiments where we can get data-driven indicators for insider threat. It's a very good idea, fairy-driven area right now. Case studies, chasing the last bad guy. And we want it to be data-driven. And so we partner with tools to leverage the technology that's out there that programs are using and the science and how to do studies the way we know how to do them to learn from humans in advance and then make those programs stronger.
Can you drill down, though, for a second? Just Could you like apply this to the real world? Because when I hear data-driven decision making, I'm just like, so how does that decision making, like what's going on that I'm making a decision and this information's coming in? Like, give me a scenario where you would use some of this information that came in from DTEX and make an actual decision based on it.
So most of the tools, what they do is they identify and they kind of create a risk score, right? So they take the behaviors that you're doing and how common they are to you or how common they are to your organization. And the best baseline is really your baseline, looking for anomalies in your behavior. But that's the most difficult to do. It costs the most. It's more expensive to have an individual baseline for every employee than it is to compare you to peers or cohorts or past data or norms. And so the goal is to use that data to find out when things are going awry and things aren't the way they used to be. Behavior change is what it really should be. But when I say data-driven, what I mean is that the indicators we're using are weak. They're either good ideas, like if I was a bad guy, this is what I would do, instead of being data-driven and watching humans behave and see how they do it. If they're going to exfiltrate data off your network, how are they going to do without getting caught? And we can actually put people through exercises just like we do for other hard technical problems. And we tend not to do that for insider threat. We think we understand insiders and we know what bad looks like, but we're really missing the smart insiders, right? We're catching the rule breakers and the people that are not smart enough to avoid the tripwires. And so we want to advance the indicators. We want them to be smarter and we want them to be such that even if you knew what the indicators were, you couldn't stop doing them. And humans do a lot of things kind of unintentionally. And if we can capture those, then we can get at that intent much sooner than after we've tripped over something they've already done that's harmful.
It's kind of like the tell that like a magician or a poker player sees. It's that sometimes we can't hide our tells, if you will. Yes?
Exactly. But you need a lot of data to get tells across a population, right? So for one individual, that's actually can be easier to do. There's insiders is everybody under your umbrella. It's a huge population. And so what we're doing now is we have industry partners and we're looking for more that want to share their actual insider case data. And if we collapse thousands of insider threat cases, we can get ahead of them, but it takes a lot of trust and sharing. And so, as a not-for-profit research group, we're trying to be that broker where you don't have to, show your weaknesses and vulnerabilities, but we can learn things from your experiences. Data-driven.